Travis Martinez in Yellowjackets exhibits behavior shaped by trauma, societal expectations, and survival instincts, culminating in his tragic suicide. From a psychological perspective, his decision to take his own life reflects the compounding effects of post-traumatic stress, unresolved grief, toxic masculinity, and a lack of healthy coping mechanisms. The wilderness experience, combined with his struggles in adulthood, creates an overwhelming psychological burden that ultimately leads to his demise. The plane crash that kills his father, Coach Bill Martinez, and strands him in the Canadian wilderness marks the beginning of Travis's psychological descent. The sudden loss, coupled with a strained father-son relationship, triggers profound grief and guilt, which are exacerbated by the death of his younger brother, Harvey, and the group's cannibalistic act in Season 2. These events align with symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, including emotional numbing, hypervigilance, and maladaptive coping through substance use. Travis's reliance on alcohol and hallucinogenic mushrooms in Season 3, notably in 12 Angry Girls and One Drunk Travis, reflects an attempt to escape intrusive memories of these traumas. However, these coping mechanisms fail to address the root of his pain, instead deepening his sense of isolation and hopelessness, key risk factors for suicide. The inability to process his father's death and Harvey's loss, combined with the guilt of survival, likely fosters a persistent sense of worthlessness, a common precursor to suicidal ideation. Travis's internalization of toxic masculinity further compounds his psychological distress. Set in the 1990s, he is shaped by rigid gender norms, assuming a man-of-the-house role to protect Harvey. His sexist remarks, such as telling Natalie to stick to folding laundry, and his bullying of Harvey reflect a need to assert dominance amidst insecurity. These behaviors, rooted in social learning theory, suggest he mimics toxic male role models to cope with his perceived lack of control. However, the wilderness disrupts these dynamics, with female survivors often taking leadership roles, leaving Travis feeling emasculated and powerless. This erosion of identity, particularly during the doom-coming orgy where he becomes prey to the girl's predatory behavior, likely deepens his shame and self-loathing. For someone unable to reconcile vulnerability with societal expectations of masculinity, this internal conflict can contribute to suicidal thoughts, as he may perceive himself as a failure in fulfilling his role. His relationship with Natalie Scatorcio, described by actress Sophie Thatcher as an obsession, reveals an insecure attachment style, likely anxious avoidant, stemming from his belief that his father never liked him. This manifests in a tumultuous dynamic with Natalie, oscillating between emotional dependence and hostility, such as slut-shaming her or threatening her with a gun. Their trauma-bonded connection becomes a psychological anchor, yet it is fraught with conflict due to Travis's inability to process vulnerability healthily. As an adult, his continued attachment to Natalie, coupled with the suspicion of murder surrounding his death, suggests unresolved emotional ties. However, this connection may also have intensified his despair if he felt unable to meet her expectations or feared losing her, further driving him towards suicide as a means of escape. Travis's engagement with Lottie's spiritual rituals, including consuming hallucinogenic mushrooms, indicates a desperate search for meaning. His visions, such as hearing screaming trees or creating a prophetic drawing in Season 3, suggest dissociation, where altered states provide temporary relief. Yet, these experiences exacerbate his instability, leading to erratic behavior like attacking Lottie. This maladaptive coping aligns with research showing that individuals under extreme stress may turn to substances or rituals for control, often with harmful consequences. For Travis, the failure of these rituals to provide lasting peace likely deepens his hopelessness, a critical factor in his suicidal decision. Ultimately, Travis's suicide reflects the cumulative impact of unaddressed trauma, societal pressures, and failed coping mechanisms. As an adult, his reclusive life under an assumed name and low-wage job indicates avoidance, a sign of untreated PTSD. The persistent guilt over Harvey's death, shame from his perceived failures as a man, and isolation from meaningful support systems create a psychological state where suicide becomes a perceived solution to unbearable pain. Travis's arc in Yellowjackets illustrates how trauma, without intervention, can lead to tragic outcomes, making his death a poignant commentary on the need for mental health support.